And I'm going to take you back to a moment in my life I'm going to share with you that I share in my book when I know I experienced shock. Okay, so if you're like rolling your eyes already because you started putting pieces together, it's a judgment-free zone. Because a couple of days went by, and as the days went by, I did have those moments where it was like, we've been dating a while and we've been sexually active. Why did he wait until now to tell me? Welcome to the Joy Act. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and I am starting a series on the loss cycle. And this is the first episode where I'm going to talk about one of the stages of the loss cycle. And this episode, I'm going to be talking about shock. Now, some of the physicality or the physiological things that you might experience if you felt like you went into shock when you learned about your divorce or your breakup would be things like feeling flushed, like feeling like the blood just drained out of your face, or your heartbeat racing. You probably start perspiring. Your chest might even have tightened up. You might feel like, am I having a heart attack? That lightheadedness, feeling numb. And the thoughts running through your head would be things like, I can't even process what's going on right now. Like I can't keep my thoughts straight. If you've ever felt that, if you've ever said to yourself, I think I was in shock, it's almost like there's a block of time that you don't even remember happening. Like you look back over it and go, there are just things I literally don't remember. I think I just went into shock. So today's episode, I want to talk about what shock is, why it might be happening. But most importantly, the thing that I really want you to get out of today's episode is that it is okay for you to experience it. It is okay for you to experience shock because it is part of the loss cycle. The loss cycle are the stages that we move through when we experience divorce or the end of a significant relationship. And they are very closely aligned with the grief cycle, which is what we experience when we lose someone through death. Now, before I dive in, I want to tell you why I'm doing this series. Because when I went through my divorces, there were just times when I felt really, really alone. I felt very out of sorts. I didn't have the words. I didn't have the language for what I was experiencing. And I didn't know if what I was feeling was normal. And sometimes I just didn't give myself permission to feel anything. I just kept myself so busy, probably in denial to some degree. And this series is about that loss cycle, about putting words to those emotions and those things that we experience when we're going through this loss cycle. So I'm going to be talking about 8 stages of the loss cycle. And I talk about these in detail in my book. But this series, I'm going to cover those 8 stages. 5 of them we attribute to psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She identified the 5 stages of grief when she was studying how death impacted people. Later on, 2 other stages were added by other people in the field. And then the 8th stage that I use is from Dr. Jamie C. Williamson. And so by the time you get through this with me, you will have learned about 8 stages. And if you are going through a divorce, if you've ever gone through one, you'll be able to sit back and identify, oh my gosh, now I know which stage I was in. And I did experience this. And I also experienced something else. So a couple of things that I want to tell you as this is the first series, and I'll repeat these as I go through some of the other ones. The stages of the loss cycle are not something that you go through. They're not linear. So you're not going to, even though I'm starting with shock, which very often is the first stage for many people because you didn't know it was coming, or maybe you did know, but you didn't know what kind of reaction you were going to have when it really happened, when the papers really happened. It's not linear. So you won't necessarily go through all the stages in order. The other thing to know is you may not go through every single stage, and you may cycle through some stages more than once. So what I also want you to understand is just how devastating divorce actually can be and how it actually is. It's not really a can be. It is devastating to everybody. No. Are there some people who are able to go through the entire process unscathed emotionally, and they're fine. They process every situation is different, but this is what I want to tell you. Losing a spouse through divorce ranks second. It is the second most stressful life event according to the Holmes Rahe Life Stress Inventory. It is the second most stressful event a person will go through. The number one most stressful event a person will go through is the death of a spouse. So the death of a spouse is number one, divorce is number two. And I need you to really let that sink in, because it will help you understand and allow you to accept the fact that what you're going through is significant. Okay? What you're going through is significant. So today I'm starting with shock. Typically, it's that initial response when you realize divorce is imminent, nothing you can do about it. And I'm going to take you back to a moment in my life that I'm going to share with you, that I share in my book, when I know I experienced shock. At the time, I was engaged. We were planning our wedding. This is my first wedding, and I call him the voice in my book. And we're in that euphoric stage of engagement, where everything feels possible. We're getting things done. I'm making my own wedding gown. We're hitting fabric stores. I mean, we're doing all the wedding stuff. We're in premarital counseling. All of that is happening. Now, we've been sexually active. We've been dating for a little while. We have been sexually active. And we were sitting at some point, and he wanted to share something with me, and I could tell it was pretty serious. And he told me he had herpes. And I thought, wow, okay. Tell me you're the woman everyone depends on without telling me you're the woman everyone depends on. The woman everyone turns to because they know you'll say yes. Again, I can remember what it was like agreeing to go places I didn't want to go. And we can all relate to taking on extra work that we had neither the time nor the desire to do. How often do you catch yourself spending time with people you don't even like? These things aren't happening because you're too nice to say no. They're happening because your boundaries need rebuilding. That's exactly why I created the Rebuilding Better Boundaries Challenge. 5 days, 1 hour a day to help you protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Take 5 days and learn to stop over-functioning. Start honoring yourself and saying no without guilt, apology, or explanation. Join me live for the next challenge. It's transformational, it's practical, and isn't it time? Tap below to start your Rebuilding Better Boundaries journey today. And he told me he had herpes. And I thought, wow, okay. I really appreciate him being this honest with me and letting me know, because this is something we're going to have to work out or work through or live with or whatever. But I'm just like, wow, okay. Okay, so if you're like rolling your eyes already because you started putting pieces together, just no judgment. There's no judgment. It's a judgment-free zone. Because a couple of days went by, and as the days went by, I did have those moments where it was like, we've been dating a while and we've been sexually active. Why did he wait until now to tell me? And it was probably later on in the week, and I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, and my body just did not feel right. And I am very in tune physically to my body. I've always been pretty sensitive to changes with my body, and I try to do a great job of paying attention to what's going on with my body. And so I know something is not right. I can't pinpoint what it is. But at some point it hit me. It's like, oh my God, is this what herpes feels like? So after that hit me, the other thing that hit me was, oh my gosh, he didn't tell me because he was trying to be open and share and, be honest about all these things, these difficult conversations with his fiance. He told me because he was concerned that he had infected me. And I found out shortly thereafter that that's exactly what had happened. He had infected me. Now I'm in full blown, sweating, freaking out, can't think clearly. I'm angry. I am disappointed. I am already feeling shamed about having an STD, having a sexually transmitted disease that I know I'm never going to be able to get rid of. And in that day and age, I'm talking, 30 years ago. Oh my, yeah, I'm easily 30, 35 years ago or so. It was like the worst thing that you could get was this incurable, like cue scary music. And so I'm going through all of this. I'm feeling betrayed. I'm dealing with the physical discomfort. I'm dealing, like I said, with this overwhelming sense of shame. And of course, I call him and have this conversation. And I'm to the point now where I don't really know what I'm going to do. But that's what shock is. That's what shock is. And sometimes the worst thing you can do when you realize you're not thinking clearly, do not make any hard, fast, really important decisions when you're in that state. I just don't think that's a wise thing to do ever. And while you're in that state, you're not thinking clearly anyway. So, short of, I need to eat or I need to lay down and take a nap or maybe take some Tylenol, but don't make any really drastic decisions when you're in that state, because your mind is trying to process something that really feels too big or too devastating, too overwhelming to even seem real. So don't make any major decisions right then. For me, after that initial shock, it was a wave of complete and utter panic. I decided to start researching it, and I fortunately found a support group nearby, able to go to one of the meetings. Before the meeting, I had talked to a woman that ran the support group. And by the time I got there to meet her, she was able to share with me, calm down, the two of you can do this. I've been married X number of years. I've never infected my husband. I have had two children through vaginal birth. They did not get infected during the course of the birth. And so I'm starting to feel like, okay, we're going to be able to handle this. At some point, he can start coming to some of these meetings with me, and it's going to be something we do together, because I am all about being a team player, okay, even in this instance. But I'm at the point where I realize I don't care what anybody else says. I realize now it's not the end of my life, okay? And I'm with this guy. We're planning our wedding. We're going to be fine. So I'm in the we got this stage, and we're together one evening talking, and he says to me, yeah, I don't think I want to get married. When I tell you, if there's something called a re-shock, I did tell you that you could go through these stages more than once. Trust me when I tell you that I went right back through shock like it had never happened a week or so before. This is all happening within less than a 2-week span of time. Because when I found the support group, I was like a day or two away from their next meeting, so things were happening quickly. But now I'm hearing this man tell me, he said, I don't think I want to get married. I heard, I don't want to marry you. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this man just infected me with something I'm going to have, an STD I'm going to have for the rest of my life, and now he is rejecting me? Are you kidding? After I was willing to find support group and still willing to go through with this marriage. It was all of that. It was all of that. And I just remember the fear and the panic that took over me. And I was like, no, I cannot believe that you're going to do this. That's like, hell no, you're not calling this off after what just happened, after what you just did. You're not going to give me an incurable disease and then tell me you don't want to be with me anymore. So we ended up getting married, and it was a little bit later. I mean, I can look back, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I can look back now and realize that when I say don't make any really important decisions when you're in that state of shock, when that panic has taken over you, I can look back now and realize I was probably in that state, making the decision to say, oh no, we have to get married. I still have to marry this guy because, who else is going to want me? That was panic, right? Because if I were in the right frame of mind, if I had been thinking clearly and connecting all the dots and not just looking at the future as one big dismal problem I was going to have to deal with because of this, I might have been able to see the signs that were probably saying to me, he's not all bad. You know, I don't think anybody is necessarily all bad. What he did was not cool at all. But this may not be the man for you. This may not be your husband material. And so at that point, like I said, it's hindsight. I can look back and go, okay, yeah, I probably set myself up for that divorce because I stepped into something when I was not really, I continued through with something when I knew I really wasn't in my right mind. And so that became part of the reason I wanted to marry this person. And that's not a reason that you should want to marry somebody. So trust became a big issue in that entire relationship. When you say, you know, what is shock? What is it? It's that initial response when you realize, in this case, we're talking about divorce or breakups, but it's the initial response when you realize that the divorce is imminent, or that maybe the shock of losing a loved one, or the shock of a car accident happening, or you losing your job, or catching your partner cheating. All of these things could be the impetus for you feeling shock. And it could feel like that numbness or feeling frozen, that lightheadedness, that heart racing, that panicky feeling, that blood draining from your face, or cold sweats breaking out. All of these things. For some people, it is a huge adrenaline rush. That's what it feels like. Like it's like everything is just moving really fast. And for other people, it is one of the biggest energy drains that they will ever experience. And it could feel like both. You may have this huge energy rush or this feeling of like electricity going through your body because you're just revved up. And then you might crash. You may just be exhausted. So physiologically, your body is responding to what it perceives almost to be like a threat. Your nervous system might kick into high gear with either fight, flight, or that freeze. This is what's important for you to remember as this is happening or as you're coming out of it. You're not in control of that initial response. Shock is an automatic response to something that you did not know was coming. And it is your body's way of trying to protect you from something that it believes to be overwhelming. It's too overwhelming to process it all at once. And so that freezing, that I can't deal with this right now, or I don't know how to process it, that's okay, because you probably shouldn't be trying to process too much in that moment anyway. So somebody else is not going to be able to tell you what shock is supposed to feel like for you. And you, I'm going to say this is the woulda, coulda, shoulda. You shouldn't judge yourself for whatever it is that you do experience. Even if you saw the divorce coming, even if you are the one who initiated it, this is what's interesting. You can still be in shock to some degree, because it's one thing to intellectualize that something is about to happen that's going to be difficult, but it's another thing entirely when it is actually happening. So I'm going to give you something practical that you can do at any time, anywhere, if you start feeling that disconnect or that discombobulation or that I'm just out of control. And this thing is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. It's a grounding technique. And I love this because it actually like works right now in real time. And this is what you want to do. So number 5, wherever you are, try to find a quiet place that you can sit, someplace where people aren't, running all around. You're not going to do this in the living room while everybody's trying to watch a football game, but you could try it, right? You could try it. So 5, you're going to look around your space and find 5 things that you can identify and look at, and just in your mind, describe those things, okay? What do they look like? What are the shapes? Notice the colors. What's on them? Are there handles or knobs? And you want to do that with 5 things, one thing at a time. And take whatever time you can to describe those things. Number 4, what are 4 things that you can touch? Okay, 4 things close enough for you to put your hand on and touch. Like I can pick up my tea cup here and I can notice that it's still warm. It still has some warm tea in it. You can touch the chair that you're sitting in. It could be a piece of your clothing, right? It could be your hair. a table or a nightstand or something. So 5 things that you can look at, 4 things you could touch. Then you're going to listen for 3 things. What are 3 things that you can hear? One of them could be your breathing. Okay? You can just stop and be quiet and listen to yourself breathe. It could be your heart beating. For me, I can hear the air vent. You know, every now and then I might hear a helicopter flying overhead. I'm not far from a military base. It could be voices if you're in your home or an office. Maybe there are voices in a room nearby that you pick up every now and then. And then you want to acknowledge 2 things that you can smell. And so maybe there's something cooking. Maybe you have a candle burning, or not even burning. Maybe there's one close enough that you can still smell the scent of the candle. But 2 things that you can try and pick up a scent. And then the one thing that's left is, what can you taste? What can you taste? And I like to also, for me, I'll think about, if I can't really taste anything right now, maybe it's what's the last thing that I ate, and I'll think about what that tasted like. Okay? And so those are the 5, that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That technique will bring all of your focus back to right now, to ground you in this present moment. Okay? And so you can do this pretty much anywhere. And it helps keep your thoughts from just spiraling. And it keeps you from thinking about something that you really can't do anything about right now. Now, I like to recommend this. When you do the 4 things that you can touch, make yourself one of them. Give yourself a fabulous big hug. I mean, like, wrap your arms around yourself as far as you can, or massage your legs. Sometimes that soothing feeling of massaging your legs or wringing your hands or rubbing your hands, but touch yourself, okay? And if you have recently experienced shock, or you're sitting here now going, oh my gosh, that's what that was, and it was still pretty recent, you're still moving through it, you still have that feeling every now and then, if you think about what just happened, that you're just too overwhelmed. It's like the world has just tilted on its axis. I want you to hear me when I say this. What you're feeling is normal. You are not the only one going through this. You will not be the last person to go through this. And this is not a time for you to make major decisions. When you are in this state mentally, you're not in your rational mind, and your survival instincts may have very well kicked in, and they're basically trying to protect you because that's what they're designed to do. And they may be telling you to take some kind of rash, immediate action. And I'm saying to you, resist that compulsion, resist that. Because the truth of this, no matter how horrible this may feel right now, divorce all by itself is not a life or death situation. But that is the only way our body knows to respond when it goes into this panic state. It treats things like they're life or death when they're just amazingly stressful and really, really uncomfortable. So be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and show yourself huge amounts of grace. And do not judge yourself for how you're feeling, because your body really is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And your mind is just trying to figure out what can it do to take control of a situation that it doesn't have control over. So what can you do? Look, if you need to cry, just sit in your car in the parking lot, sit in your office, crawl in your bed and curl up in a ball, sit on cry if you need to cry. If you need to have complete and total silence, find some place where you can sit in the quiet. If you feel like you need to call a friend, call them and share what it is that you need to share. Or you can say to them, look, I am not feeling real stable right now emotionally. Not that, let me put this out here. If you feel like you're at risk of hurting yourself or somebody else, you should call 911. So I'm not talking about anything that extreme. But we sometimes know when we just don't feel like we don't have our wits about us. And you can call a friend and let them know, I just need you to listen to me for 10 minutes. Or can we meet? I need to take my mind off of what's happening. Or I want to tell you what just happened or what I'm feeling right now. I just need to process it. If you do have a therapist, good time to schedule that appointment. And if you're working with a coach like me, obviously this is a perfect time to have that conversation with them, because what you want to do is basically what that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique helps you do is to get yourself grounded in what's happening now outside of that thing you can't control. Okay? So give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. I'm not telling you to deny your feelings or avoid feeling them. I'm telling you to get yourself grounded so that you can sit with those feelings and just allow them to happen, and you to think about where this is coming from and know that you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to do anything right now. So as I close, I want to leave you with a couple of questions for you to reflect on. You don't have to, if you can write them down, and you can come back to them later. But I want you to think about a couple of things. Have you experienced shock during your breakup or your divorce journey? Do you, listening to this now, are you going, okay, that's what that was? And can you recall what it felt like in your mind, in your body rather? Can you recall what you were thinking about it? How did it feel? And is there anything that you need to do right now? What do you need to do right now to just process that? Do you need to write it down? Do you need to journal? And what would it look like if you gave yourself permission to feel what you need to feel without judging it? What is it that you need? You heard me say earlier that sometimes I would just keep myself so busy that I didn't have to deal with whatever was coming up. And so I'm saying to you, go ahead and deal with it, or just allow it to come up and write that down and give yourself permission to go, man, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling shamed, or I'm feeling guilty. And those are the things I like to work with people to get through. But first we have to acknowledge that we're feeling them first, right? It's not like it's not to be in complete denial and the feelings never come up. We're human and the feelings come up. And I am all about experience the feeling in its fullness and don't deny yourself the feeling. And that way you can process it and deal with it and allow the feeling to go ahead and move through you, which is something Kubler-Ross talks about just wonderfully. You can journal about these things. You can talk to a friend, like I said, your therapist, your coach, but give yourself permission to feel those things without you feeling guilty about having the feeling, okay? And the feeling might be guilt or shame, and I just don't want you to feel guilty about the feeling. I really hope that this has been helpful. I know this has kind of been a lot of information in a short amount of time. I want to thank you for watching this episode. And if it has blessed you in any way, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And please share this with someone that you think will benefit from hearing it. Okay? So if your experience is recent, this feeling of feeling like shock, if your breakup or divorce is recent and you're still processing this, know that you have a place to come to get some more information. And as I continue moving through the loss cycle, I think you're going to learn even more about either what you've already started experiencing or what might be down the road for you. And I think that's going to be really helpful. So one of the things I do believe is when we're able to name what we're experiencing, it takes the power away from that emotion to be able to say, I am so angry, or I was in such shock. And it's like, well, what did that even mean for me? What did that feel like when I was in that state? And when you can name it and express it and identify it and talk yourself through it, it takes the power away from it. And that's a gift you can give yourself. Okay. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about another stage of the loss cycle. It's denial. And this is where we kind of resist that new reality. It might feel like this can't be really happening, or you even may have thoughts like, oh my gosh, I think we can still save this relationship. So that episode is going to be for you if you have gone through a breakup or a divorce and you are still thinking about all of the different emotions that you had and you didn't even know that the loss cycle existed. So until next time, I want you to be kind to yourself. Show yourself as much grace as you possibly can. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself that hug. You are doing better than you think you are. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour. Remember, divorce is not a destination. You may not see it or feel it yet, but there is another side to this, and I'm here to help you get there.